Yeah, this is a revolutionary cabinet, and maybe the most revolutionary cabinet since the first revolution. This is not a bunch of business as usual types. So this is why some of the Senate confirmations were quite challenging, is because when you try to appoint people who are going to change the system, the system doesn't want to let them through.
But it's fascinating because it's like the vampires all out themselves. Like now everybody knows who the system is. Like if you're just lying openly about U.S. aid and then they come and hear you talk on a podcast and explain what's really going on. Like he's starving mothers. There's mothers that can't get food.
Totally false.
That's all you're hearing.
Yeah.
That's no one's talking in any of these mainstream liberal talk shows. No one is talking about all this fraud and waste.
Yeah, because we're cutting off their graft machine. So that's what they're upset about. That's the real thing they're upset about. And if people want to know what DOGE is cutting, and I want to be clear, like these are cuts that DOGE recommends to the department, and usually these recommendations are followed, but these are recommendations that are then confirmed by the department. You can see line by line what DOGE has done at doge.gov. So whatever we do, we put on doge.gov so you can see everything that is being done.
And there's a tracker that shows how much money has been saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can look at each line item, and like a bunch of these sort of far left shows will say like, oh, it's a constitutional crisis, blah, blah, blah. But what they won't do is point out which payments are wrong.
Right.
So my challenge to them is point out which payments are wrong.
Yeah, go through it.
Which of these sort of waste/fraud things are wrong? Which line? Explain that line to the public. They won't be able to.
Right. Yeah, that's why you're not hearing any specifics. You're hearing anecdotal stories about mothers starving.
But we can name the specifics.
Yeah.
Line by line. And we got the receipts.
And here's the other thing. If you're
post the receipts.
And if you're only talking about the propaganda talking points and you're not talking about the very clear fraud and waste, it's very obvious what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just gaslighting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So exactly, because we're saying, like, look, in fact, I've said we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. So if we make a mistake, we'll quickly fix it. So we'll we need to act fast. So stop wasting billions of dollars of taxpayer money. But if we make a mistake, we'll reverse it quickly.
Right.
So.
There's also this interesting narrative that you shouldn't have access to this Social Security information, as if no one's had access to it before, as if the Biden administration in 2023 there was like 53 people, some of them were students, that had access to all this stuff. Yeah.
As it is, there are tens of thousands of federal employees that have access to, already to the system. Anyone from DOGE has to go through the same vetting process that those federal employees went through. So it's not like some unvetted random situation. If, for example, there's a security clearance needed, the DOGE person has to have that same security clearance. So there's no reduction in security. But I mean, obviously the vast numbers of Social Security numbers have leaked onto the internet. People have hacked the government systems multiple times. Vast amounts of public information has been hacked and dumped onto the internet. So, there's a guy at the IRS that leaked 500,000 tax returns just a few years ago.
On purpose?
Yeah.
For what reason?
For political. He wanted to. I think he was trying to get at Trump and maybe me and a few others. But he stole like 500,000 tax returns.
I just gave her healthy food.
No, it can't. Joe, come on. You had to have an expert help you.
No kerosene, nothing. Just love. Oh, I remember that story.
Oh, that was an argument I had in the hallway.
Just read about it online.
The senior
it's a real
chief
thing.
of medicine.
So
he was
these
like,
are the
he would
narratives.
always say, so
that's the narrative that you shouldn't have access to Social Security. The other narrative is that
I'm having real trouble
starving
with,
people are going to die and women are going to be pregnant and not have nutrients for their babies.
And he turned dark on me.
That's all
I never saw him dark before.
And
he said,
that's the
they just didn't have time to take effect.
They can say, but they can't point the line
I heard every kind of soundbite in the book from him, which I didn't know were soundbites at the time.
Well, this is the
and
thing
then he
where,
said, well, what do you think is happening with meningitis and these college kids? I'm like, oh, come on, that's a total no-brainer. It's like their nutrition goes down the tubes when they leave home. They're smoking. They're staying up all night long. They're hanging out with their pals.
What's fascinating to me
They're doing everything they
is
couldn't do when they were at home.
how much the mainstream media is in line with the very specific talking points.
What medical school did you go to? Like, I was actually taught that nutrition matters.
You'll have Fox News.
And how it matters and why it matters.
Essentially, Fox News on television.
It's like the only one
that is pointing out the ridiculous fraud and waste.
If you want to sneak vitamin C into somebody's hospital room, you know the best way to do it? Don't bring in our vitamin C because they will stop that at the door.
You saw the Jeff Bezos thing in the Washington Post. They're going to stop all the wacky editorials
and you just dump
limit
that
that stuff to,
I think it was
wealth and personal freedom or something along those lines.
That's going to be great for this person, this child. That's how you can get it in. Because they think that McDonald's is wonderful. In fact, McDonald's are kind of situated proximal to a lot of hospitals, and the Ronald McDonald houses are there and everything else. But bring in a homeopathic or magnesium or vitamin C, and you've got to get permission for it and go through so much red tape, and a lot of time you'll be told,
people that just they don't want to hear all this shit
because you'll cause bowel necrosis, you'll cause diarrhea,
you're saying it's almost like you're caught in an outdated version of the virus. And everybody else already has the immunity to that virus.
They've measured vitamin C levels on people that enter hospitals.
You need a new mind virus.
Everybody's the one that or on the border
you're pushing.
Of deficient when they enter.
It doesn't
and
work
pretty much
anymore. It's too
everybody
crazy.
When they leave is got borderline
the whole thing's very crazy.
If not full
I mean, the media is incredibly
Fortunately,
positive.
they go home and start doing other things and can rebuild some of their vitamin C
almost
scores.
All the media
there's a lot of subclinical scurvy walking around out there, and those are the people that are going to do the worst with the vaccine.
It's kind of weird if you talk to somebody who gets all their information from
subclinical scurvy
legacy
in
media.
Modern society.
They're living in a different world.
Well, you know, it's not just the poor diet. So any kind of stress will consume vitamin C. A cigarette will consume 75 milligrams of vitamin C, and they tell you that you only need 190 milligrams a day. That's the FDA requirement.
It's kind of wild.
So you just have a few cigarettes and you've depleted your stores.
It's like they're living in an alternate reality.
We don't
there's
make
a lot of
our own
people that I
vitamin
talk
C
to
as
that I have to go,
humans.
where did you hear that?
Humans and guinea pigs, we don't do that. And so we have to consume it. And we're reliant upon our fruits and vegetables or supplements to do. Or if you eat organ meat, you can eat the adrenals. They're loaded with it. But aside from that, it's your fruits and vegetables that are going to give it to you. So if you're under a lot of stress or you're taking medication or you have a lot of inflammation or arthritis, whatever, that's going to consume vitamin C because vitamin C is an antioxidant as well as an antiviral and, good for your nervous system. So, most people are walking around skimming the edge. You can see kind of a red line on some people's gums. They're probably vitamin C deficient. If your gums are bleeding a lot when you floss, you probably need some vitamin C. And, you could have an infection too, but it will deal to the infection as well as the integrity and the collagen inside of your bones and your soft tissues. I mean, it's like one of those things that's so important it should be given upon admission to every hospital.